We are now less than a week away from the start of the Copa América, which has been a dream for so many of us, but is about to come bloody real. It's going to be held here on American soil, coast to coast, and outside of South America for just the second time in its 108-year history. And so in these last few quite electric hours before kickoff, before we all, and you all have to do this if you're listening at home, paint our faces, put on our bomb pop shirts. We're here with the second episode of our series, The Captain, presented by our friends at Allstate, who are doing so much, as we'll discuss, to grow the game we love in the nation we adore. We're joined once again by one of the most remarkable people in the American game, who will hopefully lead this young team to Copa glory from sea to shining FC. A player whose skill and leadership on the field may only be eclipsed by his diaper-changing abilities off it. It's my friend, the quite magical, it's Mr. Tyler Adams.
Wow, what an intro, Raj. Thank you. Happy to be here.
The diaper changing, which I believe is true. I do believe you've got a black belt in that now, Tyler. I'm mentioning that because we're speaking fresh off a momentous day, your first ever Father's Day. Your son Jax, I think he's 5 months old now. How was it? What did he get you?
What did he get me? He got me some quality time in Detroit for the opening of our mini pitch. So we had a great day there. Just an amazing moment. Obviously, first Father's Day. I said Happy Father's Day to my dad, and he said it right back, and that was a cool moment as well. So I learned a lot from him, and I'm very thankful to be a father now to an amazing baby boy.
It's amazing. For so long, Tim Ream has been all of our dads, and now, in a small way, you are also a father. To all fathers listening, Godspeed to you. And we're speaking as you and the squad are reconvening after a weekend off, Avenger assembling for the group stage of the Copa América, which starts at the weekend. And if this was a sports film, I can only imagine the training montages you're going through right now, soundtracked by an upbeat Kenny Loggins song, when you're doing rondos, running up and down the stadium stairs, punching the occasional frozen meat carcass in some meat packing locker. How would you describe the difference in mood this week as you're about to begin the real games as opposed to the previous one and that stretch of friendlies?
I think it's completely different. When you go into a friendly match, that mindset is always a little bit more relaxed. Of course, you want to win, but all in all, they're tune-up matches. When you prepare for a tournament and you lock in, it's tournament mode, and you can sense the difference. So our team coming into this camp, we had a little welcome meeting for obviously everyone that made the squad, similar to the squad that we had for the friendlies. But you can just tell the energy was there. People were ready to train a week before the first game on home soil. This one means a little bit more to us, and you can get that vibe.
Let's touch upon the past week or so, this 10-day stretch which came before. It's been one of learning. It's been highs. It's been positive experiences. There's been challenges. There's been some lows. We always say this as a rule on our show, that we fans should resist reading too much into friendlies, especially early on when players are still rediscovering the chemistry, the teammates, where the coach is experimenting, fine-tuning, positioning lineups. Some players' minutes are being managed, including your own, based on what's to come. So before we get to the positives, that really quite ferocious performance against Brazil, first time the United States men have drawn with the South Americans. Let's start with the frustration of the 5-1 defeat against Colombia. Retrospectively, how should we, as fans, assess that night in Washington, D.C.?
I mean, I think, when I look at that performance, I kind of try and put the football aspect to the side. Obviously, we came up against an amazing Colombian team. What they're doing right now in South America, their standard is really, really high. You can tell that they've been playing well together. The new coach has them playing in a completely different way. Lots of energy, chemistry. The fluidity between their attackers is seamless. You can just tell. But for us, obviously the football performance wasn't great, but I think the thing that we lacked the most was the mentality of the game, which you haven't seen very often. And, I kind of went into the changing room after and for the first time, normally I come in after a loss and maybe I'll say something, wasn't good enough, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But that was the first time that I was kind of I didn't have anything to say. I just wanted everyone to see how kind of pissed I was, because in a game like that, as Americans, I think the one thing that every fan wants to see is just that grit and that battle. That's something that we can't lose. Although maybe in general, our quality is starting to get higher and higher in quality sense that maybe the U.S. hasn't seen before, we can't lose our DNA of what has made us so good. So, yeah, I think fans can be upset about that because, I always think about it whenever I go into a game that, there's people that are paying to watch you play and you have to respect that. So you can have a bad day. That's not a problem, but you can't lack intensity. You can't lack that competitive nature. You can't lack the will to win. Those are all intangible things. So, for me now, I think the response to that game and going into Brazil was a perfect example of, again, we showed our quality a little bit more, yes, but the intensity was there. We were winning duels, we were tackling, we were getting stuck in, all these things that make up the U.S. And I think that's why people resonate with that performance a lot more, obviously.
This is a silly question, and I do want to talk about the Brazil game because there were some incredible moments in there. But how is grit something you lose? And how is grit something that you just resummon?
I think there's a lot of things, people also have to realize, okay, we got our squad together, the full team squad 5 days before that game. There's guys that are coming off vacation. You can be a little bit tuned out and turned off. And I think people also have to understand the seasons that people go through. You play 50, 60 games a season. And when you have that week rest, you don't want to think about football. So sometimes it takes a second to come back into a game and to completely get tuned back into all the details. But, for me, I don't really turn off in that sense. I'm pretty easy to, be able to turn a switch on and off when I need to play and be competitive. But we were just lacking it. The heat, just so many different variables that go into it. I don't want to sit here and make excuses because the bottom line is you can't lose a game 5-1. That's really poor on everyone's end. But the response was good, and that's what we showed.
What's that like for you, by the way? As a hyper-competitive man, recovering from injury, you couldn't or you didn't play in that game. Can you put into words what it's like for you, Tyler Adams, to have to sit on the bench and watch the United States men's national team go down like that?
Yeah, I was pissed. Sitting on the bench, I was getting jittery just thinking about the ability to just go in and try and change the game or do something. I just wanted to hit someone if I could, in the game. And I think it was hard because I was just trying to, again, I'm just still trying to find the balance of not pushing it and, wanting to be patient and whatever. But we had a conversation with Bournemouth before going into that game, and it was they didn't want me to play. I was in a position where I felt like I could play U.S. soccer, maybe thought I could have played. And it was just finding the right balance of everything and making sure everyone's happy in the end, because the most important thing is the long term. But I wasn't thinking long term in that situation. I just wanted to play.
And you had to go and vent your anger with some angry watercolor painting in the weekend. The lots of reds and blacks. But the United States went into that game last Wednesday night at Orlando as real underdogs, real bomb pot wearing underdogs. Brazil, 5th in the world in the FIFA rankings, but they have an aura. They have a lot of bloody swag and aura. They're Brazil. The team of single name legends, Pelé, Romario, Ronaldo. The last time the United States won against the Brazilians was 1998. 11 straight US losses before last week. When you face up to a team like Brazil, Vini Jr., Rodrigo, Alisson, even in the friendly, does the history, the magnitude of the opponent, the aura, does it enter your mind?
For me, no. I always look at every game as an opportunity more than anything. I think when you look at our squad and how people talk about us and is this the generation to do something or whatever, you can tell by Brazil, they always believe that they're the generation to do something special. And you earn that obviously through winning big games. But, for me, it's we need to earn also the respect of people around the world. And we're continuing to try and do that. So when I go into those games, I think of it as an opportunity to, again, put our names on the map, put our team on the map, and have people earn that respect. So, I don't want to be the team that when we go into tournaments, people are like, oh, we have U.S. in our group, it's an easy game. It should be, no, we have U.S. in our group, it's going to be the hardest game of the group, and we're still working on earning that label. But with performances like that, as we continue to build up and keep ourselves in these games, you're going to find ways to win these games. So it's overall a good performance, but we even had a couple chances to win it. They had chances to win as well, obviously, but it's a matter of staying in those games.
There was a lot of concern swirling in a run up to that game. You actually fell behind 17th minute. Barcelona's Rafida slid a pass to Real Madrid's Rodrigo, found the bottom corner ruthlessly from an almost geometry-defying angle. Take us into that moment mentally from your perspective? What goes through your head? You got that Colombia loss back of mind. Do you ever let yourself feel, or do you just immediately repress it that this could turn into another difficult night?
Well, I think the response in both those games was completely different. I think when we went down 1-0 against Colombia, everyone immediately seemed deflated, and I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what caused that. But normally, I would say that our team, whether we go down, up, whatever it is, we always have the energy to keep pushing, be on the front foot, keep trying to attack, create chances. Against Colombia, after we got scored on, it didn't seem we had that energy to continue pushing. It seemed like we were just a little bit deflated, not up for it. And then when we went down 1-0 against Brazil, I could just tell everyone had that confidence still. We put the ball back at center circle and we continued to charge on. So
you can just tell. It's like body language. It's like, what are you looking at when you see that, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, you can just see the energy of everyone. You know, we went down 1-0, but when people are quickly trying to put the ball back down and like, let's continue this game, let's play, we're going to continue pushing. That's the energy you look for. No one put their head down and walked back. Everyone was like, let's go. Went to the bench, grabbed water, and, you know, we continue moving on. So that's the mentality the U.S. is known for. You know, you don't give up in those situations, and you have to keep pushing.
9 minutes later, it was Christian Pulisic, that mullet, business in the front, Wawa in the back, already in mid-tournament form. He won a free kick on the edge of the box and unleashed a line drive of a free kick, which sped past Brazilian goalkeepers Alisson's outstretched arms. First time Pulisic's actually scored a direct free kick, I believe, for the US team. And if this moment ends up on a Wheaties box, I will be eating Wheaties for the next 10 years of my life. Tyler, set pieces, so bloody important in international football. And this US team has not always worked out how to take advantage of them. The low free kick, the movement of the US wall within the Brazil wall. Was this something you've been working on in training, or was it just a brilliant piece of Christian's improvisation?
Well, it's definitely a piece of brilliant improvisation from Christian. I mean, the guy is in unbelievable form right now, and it's just, honestly, it's so refreshing to see the way that he's training and just every single day, like just going after it, because he's so confident right now. And this is like, everyone knows, I've obviously played with Christian for a long time, but you know, he's obviously had ups and downs, just like I'm going through right now. But you could tell that the quality has always been there. It's just he needs that moment to shine. And this season was great for him, because what he's going to bring to our team for this tournament is going to be, we're going to rely on him obviously in a lot of moments, because he can just create something out of nothing. So yeah, it was definitely a little bit of that. But at the same time, we've been working hard on set pieces. We've been trying to improve on set pieces. We haven't been great in the beginning of the cycle 5 years ago, but it's been something Greg has focused on. We have a set piece coach that's great as well.
Gianni Vio.
Yep. And we just try to create a little bit of chaos all the time that we have set pieces. Put the ball in a dangerous area. Good delivery is the start of everything, and try and get ahead on it. But yeah, that was a great free kick, and it was a good plan.
Yeah, used his eyes, sent Alisson one way, used his feet, drove the ball the other. Can we talk about Gianni Vio for a second? Known as the little wizard at Watford. Can you describe what he does, what he brings, his impact?
Oh, he's great. He's a guy full of energy. But when it comes to the detail set pieces, I think that's maybe what we were lacking in the beginning of the cycle, whereas now he comes in and there's a clear plan. Everybody knows their roles. Everybody knows what they have to do. And when we train set pieces, this is the time where, you know, you can either joke around, and when it comes to game time, you have no idea what you're doing, or you can be completely locked in. And every set piece, practice, training, whatever we do, everyone is locked in and making sure that they do their role. And if we don't do it, then we do it again. And these are the moments that matter the most. Every single tournament in international football, the determining factor is how good are you at set pieces, honestly. Whether it's a throw-in, whether it's a corner, whether it's a free kick, these are like the defying factors in if you win big games. So they're going to be important for us, and I think we have them locked in, and we're very detail-oriented right now.
Tyler, this is music to my ears, because ultimately you're looking like England. They got to the World Cup bloody semi-final just by obsessing about set pieces. It is such a critical element of the international game. And I'm looking forward to the United States just having Chris Richards be our Ben White and just fling himself at the opponent's goalkeeper on every single set play from here on in. But there was something else that Christian did, even before the free kick, which I noticed. And I've been dying to talk to you about it, Tyler, because it is a very Tyler Adams-esque move. I think it was around the 5th minute. He just took out Rafinha from behind. Hard foul, more than a foul. To me, It was as if Christian wanted to send a signal to the Brazilians and to his American teammates that this United States team were there to fight. I mean, it felt significant to me also, because I love to read too much into moments, that it was Christian who delivered that message as captain and as a creative heart of the team. I think the great Luca de la Torre came on this show and said Christian likes to play, quote, hot and aggressive, which I love. I'd go out on a limb and say that this moment was actually something that was pre-planned. But can you tell me the story from the inside, Tyler?
I mean, watching that moment, I was so happy. I was obviously happy that he kicked someone, but I was more happy that he didn't pick him up after, because you see so many players that kick someone or do something and they help each other up. I'm like, if there's anything we can take, it's like from basketball. You don't see someone get fouled in basketball, their teammates pick them up. The opponent never picks them up. So it's like, for me, like when I kick someone, I'm not helping them up after. No chance. Unless I'm on a yellow already and I need to be careful, then I'll play the game a little bit. But I was so happy when he did that, because again, that was one of those moments right there, body language wise, that set the tone for the team and saw that we weren't messing around. Like, this is a game we were going after. We had something to prove. Colombia wasn't good enough. We had none of that. They were kicking us all over the field. We didn't kick anyone once. And again, that's one of those games where I'm just watching and I'm like, if I was on the field 100%, I'm kicking someone. Like, you have to. Like, that's part of the game. Like, you have to go after guys. You have to try and, of course, win the ball. I'm never trying to injure someone, but, you have to send a message sometimes. And these South American teams are so good at doing that. And when it happens to them, diving, drawing yellow cards, drawing fouls in good areas. And sometimes I still feel that our team is a little bit naive in those situations. And I think we're growing into that now, and we're starting to get mature and read the game situation better and, play with refs a little bit more and understand. But that was a perfect example of what we need to do, because for everyone watching Christian do that, they're like, he's not only our attacker and our best creator, he's also a guy that's going to do the dirty work, kick someone. Like, I need to make sure I'm doing what I need to do as well.
Oh, Brazil, welcome to CONCACAF. But it was significant that it was Christian doing that.
Oh, 100%. I mean, if I'm on the field, if I was on the field there and I saw Christian doing it, it makes me want to do it even more. So 100%. When a leader does that and sets the tone, it sets the tone for everyone, especially when Christian does it.
Can we talk about the style of play against Brazil, which seemed more conservative, more pragmatic? The United States didn't try and go toe-to-toe, mostly mid-block. Tried to hold Brazil at bay. Really impressive defending, seizing moments to make Brazil look uncomfortable in turn, but not naively trying to take them on in open warfare. This team often look best, like against England at the World Cup, when they play less ambitious football in the name of getting the result.
Of course, you have to play pragmatic football all the time. And I tell this to everyone. I'm like, every team in the world wants to play like Man City, but it's not effective if you don't get the results. Like, the end goal for every club in the world is to get results and win. So, when I look at our most successful games around the world and against the best opponents, we play pragmatic football and we still have quality in certain moments of the game. You have to. Not everyone can play a certain style of play for 90 minutes. So against Brazil, we have come to terms as a team and with the coaching staff and everything that talent-wise, we're not going to be the best team in the world. It's impossible. But can we be the best collective team in the world through quality of players, through the balance of the quality of players and the pragmatic football that we play? At moments and times, we're going to be able to play possession-dominant football. But at other times, we have to win second balls, create chaos, have a lucky bounce here or there, get the ball out wide, cross it in the box. So we have to have variability in the way that we play. And I think that was a perfect example against Brazil. There were times where we put them in their end. We connected a couple passes, breaking the lines. But there were also moments where Matt had the ball, plays unison with three players around him, and he gets out of it. So we have the quality to do it, but we just have to find the right moments in time.
There were so many individual highlights. You've just mentioned goalkeeper Matt Turner set a new high score for saves, 11 that night, really shaking off the rust of what he self-admittedly said is a difficult back half of the season, when a little Tim Howard against Belgium on Wednesday. What did you see watching that? That was Matty T, with the T being for tenacious.
Yeah, that's Matty at his best. And, the thing around our team is we know how much quality each player in our team has, whether they're playing in their team or not, because we see it in training every single day. And, for Matty, sometimes for a goalkeeper especially, it needs a game like that to just get your confidence back. And he does it in training week in, week out. Against Colombia, obviously, it was more difficult with obviously 5 goals. They're not they're not all his fault or defense's fault or anything. A lot of things have happened, but against Brazil was a perfect opportunity for him to showcase just how good he was, and he did that. He's one of the best shot stoppers I've played with, reaction-wise, all these things, and he made amazing saves. He kept our team in the game at a lot of times, and that's the reason we created a lot of chances as well.
My man of the match was Joe Scally, making back-to-back starts at right back in Serginho Dest's absence, and he kept Real Madrid's Vinicius Jr. quiet almost all evening. I spoke to Joe over the weekend, and he's talked about how every time Vinny was on the ball, he was hyper aware, not just that it was his job to shut him down, but that, holy crap, it's Vinny Jr. that he was facing up to, which I just love.
Yeah, I think it's great for Joe. What a great opportunity now as well. Obviously, huge miss not having Serginho on the team. We know what he brings to the team, and I hope that he's recovering well, and I can't wait to play with him again. But for Joe looking forward, you have to seize the opportunity that you have, and this was a great warm up for him. And I think sometimes, as a player coming into a game, sometimes the best opponent to play against is the best in the world, because you have to be hyper aware. You need 100% to be turned on. You need to be focused every second. And when I watch the game back against Colombia and see him play against Luis Diaz, there's not players in the Premier League that I watch that have kept him that quiet all year. So then to watch Joe limit his chances, I don't think Luis Diaz had one chance in that game. It's like, if there's a bright spot we want to take from that game, watch Joe Scally's performance, because he kept him quiet the whole game. So, and then he did it again against Brazil.
That's so funny, because when I said to him, we talked about the difference between the games, and he was very adamant. He's like, no, there were good parts of the Colombia game. He's like, there were very good. I didn't realize he was meaning himself. Yeah, no, he did. He did a great job. I'm happy for him, because it's always difficult when you play against guys you don't know. Obviously, I've had the chance to play against Luis Diaz multiple times, and I was telling him, like, trust me, the guy keeps running, he defends, he presses. Like, that's a Liverpool player for you right there. And he was up for the challenge, man. And we're going to need him. He's going to be super important for Copa. Oh, God bless you, Long Island Joe Scally. Then 76 minutes, Tyler, you came onto the field for the first time, I think, in a month since May 11th.
Probably.
When you played 9 minutes in the Premier League against Brentford. Take us into that moment. What goes through your mind between wanting to make your mark immediately and also wanting to make sure you don't overdo it?
No, I wasn't. I don't come into games thinking I'm going to leave my mark. I think, my mark is normally from the start of the game when I'm starting games. I'm not a guy that's going to come in and obviously score goals or change the game like that. But no, it was important to get into the game. I think just from a standpoint to know that I'm ready to go as a warm up for Copa. So coming into the game at 1-1, of course, I want to make sure that our team doesn't get scored on. That's the first and foremost most important thing. But then how can we try and sneak one back? And I think we had two good chances. Obviously Christian's chance that Alisson made a great save, and then Brendan Aronson with a almost a nice dink over Alisson, another great save from him. So yeah, I just I'm not a guy that's worried about impact. I know the impact that I can have on the game, but coming into the game to get minutes for fitness and stuff was great. So I was happy to be back.
How'd you feel afterwards?
Oh, I felt great. Recovered well. Headed to Detroit the day after. So yeah, nice. A lot of travel. Excited.
We'll talk about Detroit in 1 second. But after the final whistle, what was the mood in the changing room? What was the big lesson you told yourselves about yourselves and that performance, Tyler?
I mean, I think that when Greg came in and we had the conversation, he basically told us, like, the way that we just played are the controllable factors that we always have to control. So against Colombia, we didn't control the things we can control, which are the intensity of the game, winning duels, like all these little things that obviously lead to victory, and that we were too focused in the Colombia game on the result. When you try and chase a result, it never goes well, but chasing a good performance normally leads to a good result. And when you look at the game against Brazil, we chased a good performance. Everyone have a good performance of an 8 out of 10 or 7 out of 10, and we'll get a result against anyone. But if you start to throw in performances, he was a 3 out of 10, he was a 4 out of 10, it's going to be hard to have good performances. We're going to need everyone to play their best soccer all the time in order for us to have a chance against top teams. And when you saw everyone perform a 7 out of 10, we get a result, and that's what we're going to need.
So let me ask you this. Which is a real US men's national team? The one who were outclassed by Colombia or the one who fought Brazil eye to eye? Do we know yet? And if we do, how and why?
The one that fought against Brazil. Again, that's in the US's DNA. I think the most important thing for us is, again, we use this as a learning curve, but I don't think that will ever happen again. Well, I know if I'm playing, it won't happen again. I wouldn't allow that to happen. I think that, again, we take the lessons from that Colombia game, which are important. Sometimes you need to get spanked. And my mom told me this as a kid, like sometimes you need to get knocked down, beat up, whatever, just to know that that's how it feels and you don't want that feeling again. So I hope everyone took that in, absorbed that, because we don't want that happening again.
Oh, it's good to get the beating out of the way and coast, please God, for the rest of the summer. But over the weekend, we've hinted at this, the squad disbanded for all points round the USA for a quick break. Most going to hit golf balls into the bunkers or to sit on the beach. You took another tack entirely, Tyler. Tell us what you did there on Friday on Detroit's northeast side.
Yeah, so I'm really, really thankful to be obviously where I'm at in my career right now. I think one of the most important things for me is to partner with people that have the same ambitions as me. I think when it comes to partners now and where I'm at, like I'm very thankful to make a lot of money in my club team so that when I partner with sponsors, it's not so much about the money and the lucrative deal. It's more about, okay, what can we do together in terms of building a relationship, of course, but also just, giving back. Giving back for me is one of the most important things you can do. And, when I look at my life and how it was paved without my parents, I wouldn't have obviously been as fortunate to play for Red Bull, go on to play for the national team, all these things. But there's so many kids in our country that are obviously talented that will never have the opportunity to drive an hour and a half each way because, some parents can't afford it. Some parents can't do it. So yeah, with Allstate, we're working on a project that over the next 3 years leading up to the World Cup in 2026, putting a mini pitch in underserved communities. So we headed up to Detroit after our game in Orlando against Brazil into a small town outside of Detroit that needed a soccer field. So it's in between two schools where kids are going to have access to being able to walk after school, use it for programs, whatever they want. And we had a little opening, and it was just awesome to be able to spend time with some of these kids, hear some of their stories, where they're at, why they love soccer, why they love coming out and playing, all these things. And, even speaking to parents, because it's really refreshing hearing, parents, that want to do anything for their kids and give them access to these kinds of things, but sometimes they don't have access. So I'm hoping that we can do that.
I mean, it's remarkable. 7 to 12-year-olds, a mini pitch for them in a community that honestly cries out for one. It's funded, as you say, by Allstate, run with an incredible organisation, Black Star, who are dedicated to the growth of soccer in African American communities, trying to provide free on-field experiences, which is so unbelievably bloody crucial. This, to me, honestly, it's the kind of initiative that's going to change the game in a way we need to in the United States, making it, accessible in communities who crave it, but in a way that's not pay to play.
No, exactly that. And, when I think about, the reason I did it and why I want to do these things, it's like, there was someone that created a path for me, and that was my parents. And I want to obviously create a path for these kids now. So, with whatever I can do, and obviously the opportunities that I've had have been, the best opportunities of my life through soccer. I know what the game can do and how it can grow people, not only as athletes, but being a good person, first and foremost, is the most important thing. And you grow that through camaraderie in a team sport, and soccer is one of the best. So,
I mean, I'm sure it would have been lovely for you to play golf or chill or do a couple more watercolors, bring them to life in the world. But I watched you do this. I actually, to be candid, wanted to come out to Detroit and see it with my own eyes. But you keep opening mini pitches on my wife's birthday. And believe me, I was like, I said to my team, I was like, June the 14th, is there anything happening that day? And I was completely, they were like, yes, it's your wife's birthday, you idiot. But I looked at it as something so powerful. You're the captain of the US team now, trying to use that platform to address the challenge of your own youth development, where you did, as you said, had to drive like 150 miles round trip every night to training.
Yeah. Again, it's just one of those things that it's really the least I can do. And, I wish I had more time to do even more things, but I think people don't really understand how difficult it is doing these kinds of things from Europe. For me, the most important thing is doing it in the U.S. because Europe has plenty of good players already and plenty of football clubs. But the U.S. it's so intangible for a lot of communities to to receive these kinds of things and these opportunities and this access to things. So of course, there's so many things in the world that I'd love to do, but honestly, nothing more than giving back to communities that need it most. I think that's the most important thing.
Amen. And the US squad is now back together, bracing for the real tournament to come. Can you describe in your own words, first of all, because I want to look ahead quickly to the next 7 days. What are the most profound differences between training with the international team and training at club level?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think training international level, you obviously have a lot more scouting reports in a shorter amount of time, a lot more preparation due to whether it's weather, where you're playing. So how are you recovering as quickly as possible to play every 3 days on the bounce, different stadium, a lot more travel. When I'm in England, you hop on a train or bus and you're everywhere you need to be within an hour and a half, 2 hours. Here, we're going to have to fly to Atlanta, which is going to be 3 hours. Then we're going to have to fly back to KC, which is going to be 4 hours. So I don't think people quite understand how big the U.S. is until they get here and travel it. But yeah, the travel and the preparation at international level is obviously a lot more. In the build-up at Bournemouth, to a game every 7 days, we have, we can start preparation 3 days before the game. So normally you have 3 or 4 days before just to chill. You go to training, you're in and out in 3 or 4 hours. So yeah, a lot more preparation here.
What's the mood like? And we know you guys love each other. We've talked a lot about the brotherhood. But this Copa, in a way, marks a turning point. 2 years away now from the Men's World Cup, on home turf. We're increasingly playing with realer and realer stakes here. Chance to grow the profile of the game and the players who play it, or to, wilt in the bright lights on home turf. Does it feel like the stakes of this moment are creeping in at all mentally, ratcheting up the focus, the intensity, or even the anxiety?
Nah, you perform through preparation. So if you don't prepare, you won't perform well. If you prepare, you'll perform perfectly fine. So, for me, even when I'm not playing, I'm always preparing for the opportunity to when I am going to play. So, again, doing your homework, making sure you're ready, training well. You breed confidence and momentum through good trainings, through good performances. I think it was crucial to perform well against Brazil. And now we have confidence going into the tournament. And that's all you can ask for, honestly. At the end of the day, it comes down to performances when like you said, the lights are shining, the pressure is there. But pressure hasn't fazed me personally, so I don't think it will faze the team.
You guys are preparing for the Copa, but there is another tournament raging on another continent, the Euros. To what extent has that been percolating into camp? Have you guys been watching?
Oh, 100%. We have a players' lounge. Every game is on at all points of the day that they're playing. So, I think the timing is like 8 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 2 p.m. So, yeah, it's perfect. It's good timing. We wake up, watch a game, then go training. So we normally miss the middle game, and then we eat lunch around the second one or the third one. So it's perfect. Anytime there's an opportunity to watch football, you have to have it on.
Do you guys watch as fans, or are you scouting future opponents?
Yeah, you watch as fans because what's awesome about our team now is obviously everyone plays in Europe, so everyone has played with someone in a game that's going on, and I think it's cool. You support your teammates as friends. Obviously, you support guys that you used to play with. The amount of players I used to play with in Leipzig that are now playing at this competition. It's just it's so fun to watch because I support them as friends and as fans. So it's great.
Are you cheering for anyone in particular? I know Bournemouth got players for Ukraine, for Hungary.
Yeah.
Ryan Christie playing for Scotland.
Yeah. Legend, Ryan Christie. What a guy. Yeah, no, there's guys. Dominic Soboslai, I talk to a lot, obviously, with Hungary. Donny Olmo with Spain, I talk to a lot. So there's a bunch of different guys that when they're playing, I have to watch them because these are guys that, although I played with Leipzig now, 2 years ago? They're some of my closest friends in football still. I talk to them every day. The banter, everything is there. So it's great to support them.
Judging by the Euros, this Euros particular, you could make the case international football, it seems ever more about good players doing incredible stuff in huge moments, sprinkled in with a bit of passion and good vibes. I mean, this football in the Euros is so bloody different to what we've seen in the past.
Well, I mean, I think people don't understand how different international football is from your club. You don't have the ability to express yourself the same way in international football as you do with your club because you play 38 games in a season with your club. You can build up to form. If you're not in form or not confident when you come into international football, everything is more conservative. The games, you don't although we lost to Colombia 5-1. Like, that doesn't happen often in international football. It comes down to the small moments, the details, like we said, the set pieces. But even watching the Euros now, like I watched England yesterday, and you could see they're a little bit more free-flowing. They're more like relaxed. But that's also what happens when you have a bunch of friends playing together. You're more confident playing with one another, more excited to play with one another. And to be honest with you, when I look at international football, I think the best teams are always like the best friends off the field. It's the same.
Like football and life, and you are about to get underway in the Copa Group C, which stands for It's Really Copa Time, on Sunday night in Arlington, Texas, against Bolivia, currently 85th in the FIFA rankings. In the past year, La Verde have won 2 of their past 12 games. The majority of their team play for clubs in Bolivia, including the quite excellently named Always Ready and Club The Strongest, which I just adore. We US fans, we want big wins. But ultimately, the most important part of this group stage football is just not to lose the first game, right?
Yeah, that's always important. You don't want to go off to a bad start. And I think we learned that in the World Cup in 2022, that staying alive is the most important thing in these group stages. So obviously starting off with a loss doesn't put you in the best position. But even in that Wales game, we drew. That keeps us alive. We drew against England. That keeps us alive. And then it puts us in a situation where we have to win. So in these games going into the first game, we have the mentality that obviously we want to win. But the most important thing for us is staying alive in the group. I think it's an opportunity to start off with 3 points on home soil, bring our intensity, our energy, and really start how we mean to go on.
Bolivia are not Brazil. They're not going to tear at you with pace and whirling menace. They'll most probably sit in their own low block, almost dare you to break them down. And this US team has had challenges with that at times in CONCACAF.
Yeah, it's not always the most easy. You know, we come up against a lot of teams in CONCACAF that play 5 in the back, and that makes it obviously very difficult, especially when a lot of the times our most creative players are playing out wide. So they have to beat 2-3 players before getting even a cross off. So, you know, when we come against Bolivia, we're not sure for them to probably play a back 5. They experimented with different things so far. But yeah, it will be interesting. We're going to have to be creative. We have a lot of creative players on the fields, but we're just going to have to make big plays and big moments.
As you brace up to this Copa journey, what's the single thing about this US team that gives you the most hope, Tyler?
Oh, I mean, you know, when I look at our team, I think the belief is for sure there. And I think that's what we've grown off of, good performances in the past and, a World Cup that we want to build on. But just the camaraderie and the togetherness of this team is unlike any other team that I played in. It's amazing to not only have guys on the field that you know are going to battle for you, work hard for you, but to be off the field and know that these are a lot of guys that, will be friends. We'll be friends for life. We just have that bond, that relationship. I think that's super special. I think we can't take that for granted as well because we have to hold each other accountable. But that togetherness is something special.
What can you tell us about your tournament approach, minutes-wise? This team do seem different with you in it, leading. Speaking to the players, they talk about just the desire to run towards the fight that they feel when you're on the field, encouraging them to do the same. What should we expect from you?
To play 90, 90, 90, 90, 90. 6 games to a final.
Tyler, God bless. You heard it, America. God, suddenly I feel unbelievable. Last question for you. I've enjoyed this immensely. We sit here with this group of players playing on the biggest teams in the biggest leagues, which is new, remarkable, really quite wonderful. There's been so much talk about the future for the longest time, but we're about to start living that future. The Copa really does, for me, feel like a turning point into the home stretch, as I said, of this World Cup, Men's World Cup becoming real. As we sit on the precipice of a major tournament on these shores, the United States of America, it does feel like the future is now. Do you feel that? Or does it just feel like another game, another tournament journey about to begin?
For me, it's another game, another tournament journey. It's funny. It's like the media, the cloud of the media over our team of just trying to label us something. It's like I said earlier, people label Brazil as great because they've earned that. You don't get a label without earning it. So again, we can't label ourselves. No one can label us as anything until we've earned it. And for me, that's the most important thing. When we earn the label that everyone wants to label us, then I think we have achieved something great. So again, I'm not thinking about anything more than the first game against Bolivia. But every time I go out there, I'm thinking, how do we earn the labels that everyone puts on us?
Did you take steps to make sure you're present in these moments, knowing that you'll look back on them your entire life, or are you just like, no, that's for later, that's for the end, that's for the end of the journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super important to be present, obviously, in a lot of these moments. I think that's how you're successful, how you stay calm, relaxed. But again, I think, for me personally, having a son has obviously just changed my perspective on everything. Like when the final whistle blows, I'm not really thinking about the game anymore. I'm thinking about him. I'm living through his lens, and sometimes you just need to change the lens of your life and see the moment that you're at. Right now, I'm in camp in the lead up to Bolivia, and I'll focus on Bolivia, and then obviously after Bolivia, I'll be focused on my son for the 3 days in between then, and then I'll be focused on Panama. It's just like you constantly have to change the lens. You can't live through one lens for forever. So
Godspeed, Tyler, to changing the lens, to earning it, to 90, 90, 90, 90, all the way to wherever this takes us, to you, your family, your squad. Godspeed.
thanks, Raj.
Courage.